It's been another week of VAR doing its thing, both in Scottish football and further afield, but one that's really concerned a lot of fans was the call not to send off Slobodan Rubezic after his reckless challenge, which actually knocked Kyogo Furuhashi out cold. According to on-field referee Willie Colum and John Beaton in the VAR room, there was nothing to see. And actually, I'm sure you lads like me, and like I mentioned, I've now watched it several times today, and the more I see it, the more annoyed and angry I get on behalf of Kyogo, but just in general. This isn't a Celtic thing, an anti-Rangers, anything like that. But when a guy gets knocked out cold, James, and nothing happens about it, and then you see guys getting sent off for stepping on toes or showing a tiny bit of stud or whatever, something's gone far wrong there.
Yeah, I mean, you can get knocked out and not to be a foul of any kind. Two guys jumping for the ball, particularly, at corners and things like that. This was premeditated. I was watching it from the North Stand, and he's absolutely herring after Kyogo, and Kyogo's just ready to accept the ball, nod it off kind of thing. He's herring after him. It is one of the most disgusting challenges I've ever seen. There's guys, mitigating this and that and the next thing. The game has changed. See Simunovic's tackle against Kenny Miller? That's a foul today, right? You don't get away with that today. Is that fair? Ball and man?
Excessive force is a thing.
Excessive force. I know, Paddy. I'm not. It was a beautiful thing. I know. We have to let it go. It's excessive force. It's endangering your opponent. He's out of control. It's all these things. My main overarching point on it is, if any UEFA referee, advisor, whatever kind of panel looks in on that and looks at the first penalty, and you have to say first penalty Rangers got, not the second one, because they get two a game, they go, oh, I see what it is. You guys aren't a serious operation. You're not in this game for fair play. You're in to hurt one team and help another. That's as simple as that.
I totally agree. I think that the idea that this is meant to be helping this game, and yet they're so quick to just even ignore its existence at points, is just frightening. Absolutely frightening. I'm going to go back to sports sound here. Bobby Madden actually came out and said it's not working on Saturday.
VAR?
Aye, and he says it's like, we've got the opportunity to look at these incidents, and they're not. And this is the worry. This is where he feels that there needs to be better training involving with it.
Is he talking about Scotland or just in general?
He thinks in general.
Aye.
He thinks in general, which I was really, really surprised to hear, because he's actually been quite pro VAR any time he's been on. And I think that for me, it's now really starting to ramp up across the continent. Yeah. And I've even seen a few papers after the game last Tuesday from across different countries, all saying this was very, very soft in terms of the Maeda decision. And how do you fix that? Are they going to be in the point that they're in such money, large money contracts with these companies providing this, that they can't pull out it? Are we left with it?
The thing is, the technology's not the problem. So you don't need to change anything there. Actually, you saw a bit of PR cover from IFAB that write the rules kind of thing, saying, don't worry, we're going to be making changes. But that's 2 years away,
But why do they need to make the change? It's just the concept of the rules that needs to be straightened out by...
Things like what is a handball, what is a penalty, what is a red card, what is an offside. You ask 10 different football fans that question, you get 10 different answers.
I see that point, and that's why it's never going to be perfect. But at the moment, it's an absolute shambles.
I keep making this statement almost every show we do. Who's benefiting from VAR? Not players, not refs, not coaches, definitely not fans. Who wins out it? I don't get it. Across the board, I'm all for technology, move with the times and all that stuff. And I think before it came in, we were all thinking this will be great. It'll cut out the nonsense. Far from it. And I think over the piece, you're probably just getting as many decisions right and wrong as you were before it. But crucially, what you've taken out is that spontaneity for fans when it comes to supporting a goal. Now you can still support a goal, but you kind of let yourself go, because you go, there's always a lingering doubt.
Does it create enough discussion points that I can sell a Monday night football show? I can do so. The media companies, do they win? Are they winning out?
It seems to be the case.
There's certainly more
column who benefits.
Yeah,
they benefit.
Well, that's the only thing. But is that the most important thing in football?
So the money is.
You might be right, but it's just there's no. I'm struggling to see the pluses. Brendan Rodgers himself is quoted. He said before the weekend's game, and obviously he'll have been smarting from the Maeda decision. He said, if you're asking me now, I'd get rid of it. Is it viable to get rid of it now? I'd like to think so. I would be all for it, but
I wouldn't get rid of it completely. I think, like you said, it's not the technology that's the problem, it's how it's being implemented. It's the fact that it's re-refereeing games from every incident there is. It's trying to chop off goals, it's trying to send people off, it's actually hampering the game. You look at yesterday's decision, it's a blatant one. It should have been a red card. Anyone watch? I've seen Dermot.
It sounds like he's not kept up to speed with the rules.
Aye, because he's coming out with quite a few shockers.
Changes his accent when he's on live TV
I've seen a bit of that, Bigara.
And then you look at the Rangers penalty a couple of weeks ago, the Rangers penalty the week before that. So
and next week
the list goes on.
But there's definitely a place for it. I think for offsides in general, I think it's
mathematical.
Because there used to be some shocking decisions which would get missed. So for that kind of stuff, brilliant. But the red cards, the handballs, that kind of stuff, it's like you say, it's not a game goes by now, whether it's in Scotland, England, where they're having a shocker with it.
The thing that really gets me is the threshold now for getting a red card is so low. You
not
don't
always.
You don't need to do much at all. You see this thing, you're seeing guys getting their foot stood on. Remember back in the day, somebody stand your foot, you just go on with it. That was it. Oh, somebody stood my foot, that's it. Now, when you slow that down and watch it and you see stud landing on the top of somebody's foot, that's a red. Whereas you can come steaming in at X mile an hour into the back of Kyogo's head, and whether he won the ball or not is immaterial. Excessive force, endanger an opponent, use whatever term you want to use. And apparently he's got some previous for that, according to Willie Miller.
Yeah. If Willie Miller's telling you it's a badging, a fair guy, but an Aberdeen fan.
But that in itself, I'll read out the quotes from Kyogo as well, and you see just how much he remembers about it or not. So he says, I don't know how many minutes it was, but I've lost my memory and I don't remember anything about my teammates worrying about me and walking me off the pitch. At the hospital, the doctor told me that you're fine without any problems, and I felt that the God of football protected me. I will continue to do my best with keeping my gratitude in mind, whatever that wee last bit kind of means. But he's lucky, and I'm not putting too fine a point on this. And we're obviously at times will be quite light on our discussions, but he's quite lucky, James, that he got up and walked away. Mm-hmm. First of all, that he never left the field in a stretcher. And anything worse, listen, it's rare for something really bad to happen in a football park, but if somebody goes head to head at pace like that, you're running the risk of a serious injury and a career-threatening injury, if not more. And I think if Scottish football isn't intent on cutting that out, then we've got a real problem. You and I spoke post-match, and you spoke quite passionately about the fact that first and foremost, players may be reluctant to come to Scotland because they wouldn't feel safe in terms of how we implement the rules. And listen, anywhere else in Europe, that's a red. I just don't understand why our Scottish football were a bit more robust than that, we're a bit more hardy. Red is red is red, and it's a shocker that wasn't given.
Take you back to the first question of the show, why are we not developing, why we find it so hard in Europe. That's a big part of it. There's so much, backward thinking in how we play our football and how we implement our football. There's obviously, an imbalance in how they officiate, but there's also a lack of modernity in how we officiate. We go into Europe and we're by far not a dirty team, but we're getting called out for things that, in Scotland are absolutely fine. But that tackle yesterday, every single league in Europe. So what kind of game are the SFA running where they're saying that's okay? And what really disappoints me is that it's so embedded in the culture. You've got fairly decent guys like Michael Stewart and Mark Wilson saying, I couldn't really complain if it was red, but I can see why it's a yellow.
I was really surprised at both of them.
Very poor. Mark Wilson saying if my centre-half doesn't go for that, then I'm really disappointed. It was, if it's in your box, maybe you've got to throw everything at it. But he's ran at it 20 yards into the Celtic half.
He's right to go for it. It's the manner in which he then went through.
Yeah.
Nah, it's just unacceptable.
I wonder if they've looked at it in the slow motion version, and that's maybe taking away the animosity that he's came in at it.
Slow motion was worse.
No, actually, like slow motion's worse than what you see. Kyogo goes out cold before he even hits the ground. Yeah. I wonder if they've looked at it there and they said, actually, he's maybe just got ahead of him, and it's maybe the size of the guy. If you watch that at full speed, it is disgraceful.
There's one angle from behind that kind of looks, well, maybe. Every other angle looks, horrendous.
Even aside from the head knock, Kyogo could end up with whiplash. The pace he's got, it's so unsafe. And if VAR's not looking out for the safety of players, what's it? Do you know what it'll do? It'll get the odd offside thing right, and they'll go, it's justifying itself. It must first and foremost protect the guys that are there to play.
Look at the campaigns that guys like Chris Sutton are working really hard on. Head knocks that lead to motor neurons and lead to Alzheimer's. They're trying to do everything to rule it out of the game, concussion subs, things like that. what's the point in bringing a concussion sub in when you're allowing players to concuss guys, just guilt free?
Yeah, it's mad stuff. We'll need to move on from it. Asim, your final thoughts on VAR? I suppose my question was going to be, is it here to stay? I think it is, but and what, guys?
Make it better.
Yeah, I think it will stay, but I think the fact that there's so much chat about it all across Europe right now, and the big leagues are even complaining about it, and the managers are not happy with it. You might see some tweaks and a review of it, but you'd like to think so, because it's ruining the games, and the fact that, as you mentioned, you can't celebrate goals anymore, which is fine because obviously the offside checks have to be done. I'm looking back at the Lazio one, that was such a good moment, and then
deflating.
So deflating.
It's the right decision.
It's the right decision. So stuff like that, fair enough. But just in general, every goal now, you're just waiting. You can't fully immerse yourself in the celebrations.
See, I see it the other way. I get to celebrate twice.
I like that, but the other one's just like, I knew it. I tell you so.
Yeah, but there's definitely, I think it is here to stay, but some things need to change and pretty soon as well. So let's see how it goes.